Hey guys, this is Siettmann Sports, and today we're going to be talking about the Houston Astros cheating scandal. Now, you may be asking yourself, Jimmy, why are you talking about this right now? The investigation was over with a long time ago. I thought it was a good time to talk about it right now because the Astros have now publicly commented on the events that occurred. Now, what does the commissioner's report actually say? It says the Houston Astros cheated in 2017 as well as early on in 2018. Does not say anything about 2019, but I want you guys to know that we don't know for sure whether or not they did. And so when I mentioned stuff in this video talking about whether or not they could have maybe cheated in 2019 also, it is speculation. It's not in the report. But we can't just say they absolutely did not do it at all just because the commissioner's report says they didn't find any wrongdoings in that time. So I kind of just wanted to make that clear. But anyways, let's talk about the scandal itself for a second. The Houston Astros basically were accused of stealing signs using technology, which is absolutely illegal when it comes to baseball. And to me, it's the biggest in-game cheating scandal in modern day sports history. Yes, you had steroids. But the thing with steroids is that I think it was something that every team in baseball had someone who was using steroids. It was rampant throughout the entire sport. I think when you're dealing with the Astros here, even if you think other teams are cheating, the Astros were one of the main teams that were using this kind of cheating, and they were the most blatant in using it. And that's why I think there's been such an outcry and an outpour of emotion about the Astros doing this. And also the fact that it's in baseball, even if you use steroids, you still have to go up there, you still have to hit the ball, which is the single hardest thing to do in sports. People may compare it to a sign stealing scandal like Spygate, but really the kind of impact that Spygate had compared to the kind of impact that the Houston Astros scandal had, it's apples and oranges. And the Astros, when they were using this, were gaining such an advantage. It really doesn't compare to anything else in modern sports history. And that's the craziest thing about it, is that it really is the biggest in-game cheating scandal we have had. And I really think that's a point that kind of gets overlooked in all of this, especially because baseball has kind of fallen by the wayside of the NFL and the NBA as far as people talking about it and the popularity of the sports. Now, the Astros finally spoke publicly about this last week. They had an introductory press conference, and Jim Crane, the owner, basically came out and said, well, he didn't think that it affected the game that much. Well, my first thought on that is, if it didn't affect the game that much, then why did you do it? And the simple answer to that is, it did affect the game. And that's why they went out of their way to do it. Because if it didn't have an effect on the game, they wouldn't have even tried it. But they kept trying it because they knew that it gave them an advantage. So when he came out and said that, I don't know if he didn't listen to his PR firm or anything like that, but that was probably the most blatant thing that I heard that was just completely awful from that day in general. You also had Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman speak that day as well, kind of give, again, empty apologies. And really, that's kind of what a lot of the Astros situation has been filled with, is a lot of just half-ass or empty apologies. And yes, they are saying technically that I am sorry for what happened and, we need to move on. But when you listen to these apologies, when you look at how they're saying these things and how they're apologizing, we wouldn't take these apologies from our friends and family as real apologies. They don't come off as sincere. And so that's kind of my biggest problem with the situation, is I really think they could have attacked this situation by just straight up apologizing, being as clear as possible, being like, yes, we cheated, and we cheated because we wanted to gain an advantage, and we got caught, and we're sorry. But the words "I cheated," I've barely heard uttered throughout any Astros players in general. And they kind of admit that it was going on, but no one has even admitted that they used the sign stealing to their advantage. They just kind of admit that it was happening on the team in general. And so the biggest problem I think a lot of people have with it is they don't really truly seem contrite. And yes, maybe you would have received an initial blowback that was bigger if you just come out and admit right away that you did all the wrongdoing, that you were one of the players that used it to your advantage. But at the end of the day, people appreciate honesty, and that's why the Astros have received such blowback from this. It's not the fact that they aren't apologizing sincerely and being honest enough about how they do it. We see this in sports a lot. You can look at something like PEDs, where when someone gets caught, almost all of the time, they come out and just flat out deny it. I think it's because if you deny it, you are able to have some people who are still going to be on your side. They're going to say, well, I believe he took a tainted substance. I believe that so-and-so would never cheat. And if there's anything that we were taught in our lives, especially as kids from our parents, it's that the cover-up is always worse than the crime. And again, the Astros aren't sitting here and covering it up to this day, but when you're not sincerely apologetic from the start, it can definitely rub people the wrong way. I mean, an extreme example of this is you look at a guy like Lance Armstrong who denied, basically ruined people's lives over anyone who wanted to suggest that he used steroids or he used performance-enhancing drugs. Well, ended up being that he was lying the entire time. And again, that was worse than the crime itself. The cover-up was worse than that. And the Astros and how they're dealing with this, it doesn't seem sincere. It doesn't feel like they fully attacked this on. And it feels like a PR firm has told the team, look, once one person comes out and is fully apologetic and says, oh yeah, I did this, and these are the people that were a part of it, all of a sudden everybody has to start saying it. So I understand what they were trying to do, but they couldn't have handled this in a worse way possible. And now that spring training has started, you have players from other teams for the first time openly talking about the Astros. And let's just say some people aren't very happy about it.
Everyone knows they stole the ring from us.
As hitters, if they have an edge, an advantage, knowing what's coming, it's just going to make them stronger.
2017, it's like, I'm pretty sure it was going on in 2018, 2019 too.
It's sad for baseball. Me going up to the plate knowing what's coming, it'd be pretty fun up there.
Yeah, people did not hold back at all when they were talking about the Astros. And they're angry, and they have a right to be angry, especially because a lot of these guys played the game clean. They played the game the right way. You know, and you can say, well, people weren't this outspoken about steroid use. Well, I think a lot of people wish they would have been at the time. And also the fact, like I said before, steroid use was much more rampant across the league. There probably was a guy on every team that used steroids. This cheating scandal to a lot of players just ruins the integrity of the game. And they have lost respect for these players on the Astros. And I don't blame them for doing so. It's going to take a lot of trust and a lot of time for the Astros players to earn that kind of respect back. Even some players that are no longer on the team anymore. The worst part about all of this to me is the fact that Carlos Correa came out this past weekend and really tried to defend himself and the Astros and Jose Altuve from comments that guys like Cody Bellinger made and Mike Trout, as well as Kurt Suzuki of the Nationals. Correa did a long interview with Ken Rosenthal in which he defended the Astros and he defended the fact that they didn't cheat in 2019. He even said they didn't really cheat in 2018 either, defended the legitimacy of their World Series in 2017. And if you watch the interview, it just seems like Correa just keeps digging himself in more and more of a hole. And you see what he's trying to do, but my God, man, just be quiet about this situation. I understand you're hurt that people are coming after you, but please just be quiet for the sake of everyone. And then he goes on to say this in a separate interview.
So you guys now, all the players now, are above the lawyers that MLB is using, above the commissioner's report. Like seriously, bro. Like the commissioner's report clearly says in 2019, nothing happened. Just straight up baseball player with talent playing the game of baseball. And you had the audacity to tell the reporters that, yeah, they were cheating because we heard the whistles. The fans whistle in the game. The fans are whistling all the time in the game. What does a whistle mean?
Really, Carlos Correa? Really? How does anyone think you have the audacity to cheat? Why do they think you have the audacity to cheat? Because people who cheat tend to push the boundaries. They tend to go as far as they can and push those things as far as they can. So yes, in the commissioner's report, it doesn't say that you guys use buzzers. But for someone to believe that, for someone to believe that you cheated in 2019, it's not that far-fetched. And you don't have the right to sit there and say, how could anyone ever think that we would cheat? Well, because you cheated in the first place, and people don't tend to stop there. When people are committing tax fraud, they don't just say to themselves, I'm going to take a couple $1,000s home and I'll be fine with it. No, they keep pushing the limits until they get caught. And that's exactly what the Astros did. So if anyone has the audacity to say, oh, we cheated, they absolutely have the right to think that. And yes, it may not be in the report itself. I get that. But just because the report doesn't say it happened doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And at the end of the day, you are going to have to gain back the respect that you've lost. And yes, you say it was only a mistake and that you can't just judge someone and lose respect for them off a mistake. But I'm sorry, that happens a lot in real life. It happens when somebody cheats in a relationship. It happens when people lie in general. You may never trust those people again in your entire lives. Look at a guy like Lance Armstrong. No matter what he says the rest of his life, he has lost his integrity because of how he handled the situation in his life with his PED scandal. There are plenty of examples of guys who have tried their entire lives to gain their integrity back, and they almost can't. And with his Astros situation, it may simply be like that. And is that fair to Carlos Correa and to Jose Altuve and to Alex Bregman, who are all really good players? No, it's not. But life isn't fair. And these players are going to be upset and they're going to be mad, and you're just going to have to deal with it. Because those are the natural consequences of what happened to the Astros. Could have done more than the fine they gave the Astros, more than the loss of draft picks. I don't know if they should have taken away a title. I'm sorry, I don't have a hot take on that. But I think they should have had fiercer penalties for what they did, because it seems like for the penalty they paid, if that's all it costs to win a World Series, I think a lot of teams would have done that in exchange. Look, it's over at this point. We know what the Astros did to an extent, and everybody knows it, and we all know the results of it. They should have handled this a lot differently. They could have handled it a lot differently, and I wouldn't be sitting up here right now upset at the fact that they did. I don't hate these people for the rest of my lives. And because of how they've handled it now, it's going to take longer for me to respect these people, to gain their trust back. And I think a majority of sports fans feel the same way. I think a majority of players feel the same way. And for the Houston Astros, like I said, this is the biggest in-game cheating scandal we have seen in modern day sports. And this isn't going to go away for them. But how they've handled this has been a complete disaster. And if they continue to handle it this way, it's never going to go away as much as they want it to. And look, the Astros could win the World Series this year and be completely clean. I don't think this means they're not a talented team. But at the end of the day, none of this was worth it for them. And how they've handled this has been a complete, unmitigated disaster. And they deserve everything that's coming toward them. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Siettmann Sports, and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Also, turn notifications on for my channel. It's like banging a trash can or having buzzers on you. It'll let you know what videos I have that are coming, just like the Houston Astros knew what pitches were coming in 2017. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll talk to you guys next time.